All right, everybody. Thanks for joining me today on All Things Division III Soccer with Simple Coach and Jackie. I am Simple Coach, and that there, snoozing away on this snowy day, is Jackie. Anyhow, this episode of Around D3 is going to be maybe a little different. I mean, I could have split it out, but just trying to collect things as I and package them as best I could. Just have some, bits of information, some good, some bad. I want to do the Simple Coaches top 25 men's teams and then the top 25 women's teams. And I'll run through those. And then at the end, I just have some sad news to cover that, I wanted to touch on. So, so let's just jump right into it. For you football fans out there, Friday is the Division III National Championship called the Stag Bowl. My Mount Union Purple Raiders are playing the North Central football players. Name escapes me. And we're obviously going to win. Mount Union is going to win its 14th national championship. If any one of you who is watching is going to be there, let me know. Would love to connect and talk soccer while we're watching a football game. Anyhow. Okay, so some bummer news that I saw. Cazenovia College is going to be closing its doors in the spring of 2023. They are an upstate New York school. Only reason why I bring it up, they are Division III. They're part of the North Atlantic Conference. But they also have 2 soccer teams, so I'm sure there's a whole process by which these kids can transfer, and but you can only feel for them, right? And that they're going to be having to go through this. But I do think the economic realities of the school are pretty apparent, right? Like I think the most students they had was 1,000, and now they're down to something like 600. So. I don't know more details than that, and I don't understand the economics of running a school, but I'm sure there was an impact there. And then with COVID and all that stuff. So, okay, so in probably another episode, definitely another episode, 2 more other episodes. And this is a little bit hard work, and it's taken me a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I'm doing all these Simple Coach interviews and whatnot. So I'm getting and I have a regular job that I'm getting pulled into like 50,000 directions. I'm going to try to get to it because it's something I really enjoy. Is I'm going to do my best 11s, which is actually like 33 players that I just choose that I think are the best players in each, and they don't necessarily match up to that I noticed from last year match up to the All-Americans, but because I have some crazy stupid rules that I invented that make up what I call the best 11. It is time. It is that time of year after soccer season where you start to see the changes in coaches and opening of positions. And I mean, quite frankly, it's not even been a month. And there are a number of head coaching positions that I'll just run through real quick out there, and a couple surprises. But the head men's coach at DePaul is open. Head women's coach at UT Dallas. Head women's coach at Elmhurst. Head women's coach at Eureka. Head men's coach at that one-time formidable football factory at Augustana College. The head women's coach at Albion in, I think, Michigan. Head women's coach at Alverno College, which is actually, they only have a women's team because it's an all women's school at the undergrad level. I think it's mixed for their graduate programs, but yeah. There is the head men's coach at Penn State Scranton. Keep in mind, it's a part-time position. It's not a full-time. And then one that's surprising to me that I mean, it was on the NCAA job board, but I guess Leah McDermott, who just took over for this past season as head coach for the College of New Jersey, is not there, is stepping away. I don't know. So that position is open again. So yeah, that's an odd one. So okay, that covers the bits of news that I really wanted to cover at this intro, and so now we're just going to jump into the top 25s. All right, so let's start with the men this time around. They were the ones who finished their championship the first, so figured I'd start there. And I'll just run through these quick, and I think they all speak for themselves, and I think everyone who knows I've commented before on these teams. But number 25, Cortland State at 13-6-3, excellent campaign. Made it to the NCAAs, and really, really great program there by Steve Axtell. Number 24, this OEC team, Ohio Northern, 13-4-5, ended up losing to Williams in the NCAAs, and really, really sort of turned it around. I think at the beginning of the season, they had a grueling schedule that they didn't fare too well at the beginning, but really finished strong. So number 24. 23, Montclair State at 15-2-4. I actually, for as great as their record is, I actually think that if you ask anybody at Montclair, they'd sort of be disappointed. They didn't make the tournament. They didn't win the NJAC. They lost to Rowan pretty heftily. But I still rank them high. I think individually, player for player, it's probably one of the best teams in the country. So Babson at 15-3-3, NEWMAC champs. What a great record. Went into the NCAAs. 22. Number 21, SUNY Oneonta, the conference champions that beat, I think it was Cortland, at 15-3-3 and made it into the NCAAs. 20th, St. Olaf at 15-5-2. Love this team, love what they do. Made it to the NCAAs. North Park 15-3-3. Although again, I think my expectation for where they ended up was a little bit higher, but still an excellent. We're talking degrees here. We're not talking major differences. But number 18, Pacific Lutheran at 16-4. Number 17, surprised everybody. I think the Blue Golds. I think I got it right. The Wisconsin Eau Claire at 19-2-1. Great campaign. University of Mary Washington semifinalist, lost to Williams, 13-5-3. I don't want to say they came out of nowhere because they'd been playing great soccer, but really started coming into their own during the tournament. And defeated Amherst in penalty kicks after going up 2-0. So pretty remarkable, very successful campaign. Okay, number 15, Christopher Newport at 13-4-2. They did have a couple ups and downs, but really made the tournament, did all the things they needed to do, and deserving of this spot. Number 14, another Franklin and Marshall, 13-2-5, which I will say, for as critical as I was last year about Franklin and Marshall, they really sort of started to hone back into what I think they like to play. So it was fun to watch, and always tough against these guys. 13, Gustavus Adolphus. I think they dropped to Chicago. No, St. Thomas, Texas, I think. 15-2-6, outstanding campaign again from them. Number 12, Bowdoin at 13-2-5. And then number 11 out of Michigan, Calvin, 17-3-2. Number 10, the team that I think got screwed over in the NCAAs at 22-2. Remarkable campaign by Western Connecticut. St. Thomas, Texas, 16-2-3, made it all the way to the regional finals with Chicago. Outstanding season by the men at St. Thomas. North Central, 17-1-4. I mean, the record speaks for itself. Made it to the NCAAs. Just great season. Number 7, Washington and Lee. I'm sure if you talk to Coach Singleton, he'd probably express some disappointment at falling short, I think, of what their objective is, which is getting to the Final Four and to the finals and winning a national championship, but still an outstanding performance, especially, I mean, then they started the season, going down 4, going down to Messiah, and then just went on a march and really started getting their groove on when they're halfway through the season. So Amherst, number 6, 14-1-5. They just do what they do very well, and it's really difficult. And they bowed out to the University of Mary Washington, as I mentioned. Okay, and this is probably going to shock some people. Number 5, Johns Hopkins, 15-1-8. Really did enjoy the way they played, and they had the pass to the Final Four at their feet, and then they missed in penalties. Kenyon at 19-2-1, really disappointed, I'm sure, in their loss to Williams. But I just think for how they play and how they've been doing it consistently, this is one of easily the top 5 in the country. So. Number 3, semifinalist in the tournament, Stevens Institute of Technology. Coach Dale's men at 17-1-5. Outstanding campaign, outstanding performance in the tournament, and really made Chicago work for it with a goal, I think, that Chicago scored on the header with like 3 minutes left before it went to penalties. So. Messiah, 20-2. I still think, in spite of it, this was the best team in the country. They lost to Williams on PKs and wasn't exactly their best game, but the totality of their work, they were just outstanding. And shout out, actually, in Matt McDonald, one of my favorite forwards from last year, National Player of the Year. So shout out to him. And then finally, number 1, University of Chicago, 22-0-1. Coach Sitch doing a masterful job navigating, pretty rocky, tough tournament play, and they really set themselves up. And like I said, there is a different, and you watch the games, in my mind, there were 2 teams that were sort of at a different level than most everyone, and that's Messiah and then obviously Chicago. And so I think Chicago is a rightly, national champion. So let me tear the Band-Aid off. No Williams. Yes. I look at these things as like, what have they done up until this point? And I think Williams did really well, and they had a great run in the tournament. But if you look from just a record standpoint, every one of the teams in my top 25 would collect more points based on their record than Williams did on their total record. So I think they're worthy. They did what they did. They got to the finals and all that stuff. Do I think they're one of the top 25 just because they had that, what I think is a great tournament run? Not so. So I'm sure you could put all the hate down below, or you could shoot me an email. I have no problems trying to be convinced the other way. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the top 25 women's team. Okay, yeah, if you can believe this, number 25, Cortland State at 13-1-5. The Lady Red Dragons? I don't know how they would say that. Well, the Red Dragons of Cortland State got to the NCAAs, ended up losing to Messiah 1-0, which I think was a pretty great accomplishment. So, so I put them at 25. I think this might be a first, right? Number 25 on the men's side, number 25 on the women's side, and then to boot, it's a husband and wife team. So the head coach, Steve Axtell, for the men, and his wife coaches for the women's team. So breaking records here. All right, number 24, Puget Sound at 16-6-1. Number 23, Tufts out of the NESCAC, 11-6-2. Again, the NESCAC, I look at the team like Tufts, and the NESCAC is a tough conference on the women's side as well. So Pomona Pitzer, 13-2-5. Bowdoin at 10-4-3. Here we go. Williams, 11-5-3. Just another remarkable campaign there. And was a leading contender going into the tournament. Loras, they have incredible programs on both sides, men's and women's. At 18-1-3, incredible record. University of Scranton, 17-3-2. Stellar campaign, won the conference, won the landmark conference, got to the NCAAs. Just a really, really good, solid year for them. Pacific Lutheran, 17-2-3. There's it's interesting. Unlike the men, I think there's a lot more. The women's teams out west on the women's side tend to be a bit stronger. So I just chalk them up to chalk Pacific Lutheran up into that category. Number 16, who are their Leah McDermott, who was the coach, just started, is no longer the coach at 14-3-2. Probably disappointed that they didn't make a deeper run, but still a great team and a great program out in Ewing, New Jersey. Okay, Trinity out of Texas, 21-1-2. Remarkable campaign. Lost in the NCAAs, but definitely a program to be reckoned with. Emory at 13-5-1. Another UAA team, just spectacular, especially coming, and it's a tough conference, right? Along with Case being in there as well. Number 13, Carnegie Mellon at 14-3-2. Number 12, the Crusaders of Mary Hardin Baylor at 17-1-1. Just another outstanding performance by them. Number 11, Wartburg at 16-3-2. Number 10, William Smith of Hobart and Smith at 14-2-6. Number 9, one of the semifinalists, Virginia Wesleyan, 18-3-4, who lost to, was it Case? I can't remember. But another remarkable season. I watched them early on and thought that they, a couple games early on in the season, and I thought, man, they do have the talent to make some waves. Did I expect them to go that far? No, but it's just remarkable that they were. But I guess I'm not surprised, right? Because they definitely had the talent on the field. University of Wisconsin lacrosse, the Tundra of the North at 21-2-1. And then out of Michigan, again, like their another school that has great programs both on the men's side and the women's side. Calvin at 18-1-1. Same thing at Amherst, another NESCAC at 18-3, number 6. And I think that actually matches with the men on the men's side. They were numbers. I had them at number 6 as well. All right, so for the top 5 teams in the for 2022, Christopher Newport at 19-0-3. I'm sure Coach Gunderson will tell me that they were disappointed not to get to the finals, but they had an incredible run in the season and then through the tournament, and remarkable team. I mean, some loaded talent. And definitely, I mean, I would say probably these next 3 teams are at a different level. And I think Christopher Newport is one of those. So the next, wait. All right. Next up, Misericordia, 21-1. They were ranked number 2, I think, or number 1, depending on what polls you looked at. Just loaded with talent. Everything running on all cylinders, and I think they may have lost to Case 2-0 in the regional finals. I think I can't remember, but just a outstanding team, and they're definitely, like I said, this is a different level from the rest of the teams. So next up, who I thought remarkable to watch them play, Messiah, 22-3. Obviously lost in the semis of the tournament. Just another school with great programs on both sides, on both the men's and the women's. Number 2, runners up this year, who I've been calling for since the beginning, since I started doing these polls, that Case Western was the team, 21-1, and I thought they're not getting enough credit. I think they're just a remarkable team, and I hope to have a conversation with Coach Richter here shortly to just talk about how good they were and their impressions of the season. So that hopefully that'll be coming up soon. And then finally, for obvious reasons, number 1, that I'd probably argue, like, there's 3 levels. There's like everybody else. There's the Messiah, Misericordia, Newport, and then there's this top level, which I would throw in Case, and definitely number 1, Johns Hopkins, 23-0-2. I mean, you can't take anything away from Coach Wheeler's girls. They were just fantastic all season and took care of business where they had to. So anyhow, that's the top 25. Hope you enjoyed. Any comments, criticisms, compliments, feel free down below or shoot me an email. All right. Okay, I hope you enjoyed those top 25s. That's just my personal impressions. There's no real science to them other than what I see, what I like, and I go from there, and at least try to make it somewhat organized. So anyhow, hope you enjoyed it. Comments, obviously, as I mentioned, down below, or shoot me an email. Before I sign off, I did want to touch on a couple things, which, on the sadder side, obviously, the first is you've, if you're following the World Cup and you're into soccer in the United States, you've heard that soccer reporter Grant Wallace passed away while he was covering the World Cup. I knew Grant. I'd interacted with him a number of times, including me being a source for a story on MLS and paying of general managers paying player fines from if they got yellow cards and stuff like that, which is a no-no. I will say, just in my interactions with him, it's not hyperbole to what you've been hearing about him. He was a pretty great guy. So, and his wife is extraordinary. I follow her on, because of her knowledge of in medicine and whatnot. And she's a remarkable lady as well. So my, thoughts and prayers out to his family. And then the other bit of sad news, and this is definitely something that impacts Division III, is found news that Maine Maritime soccer player Brian Keneally, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, passed away in a car accident, like a week ago or last week. And so I hate seeing that sort of thing. And I'm sure, like I said, before, I believe in the power of prayer and hope, that if you all chime in with your own prayers for, the Kennelly's, the, Maine Maritime community, and then Grant Wall's friend and family, and obviously for the gentle repose of their souls. I think that would go, a long way. I mean, okay, so that about wraps it up for this episode of Around D3. As I mentioned at the beginning, I will be back at looking at the past season when I do my best 11s for, the men and women. Hopefully I can get to that. But if I don't get to it before Christmas and I don't have an opportunity to say so, I wish you and your families many blessings during the holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is that you celebrate. Hope it's a wonderful time of year for you all. And as I always do, it's a gift for me. All the feedback and all the support I've received doing around D3. So really grateful to you all, and it's my best gift. So on behalf of me, Simple Coach, and Jackie, have a great time, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. If you like this show, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. You can also find me on anti-social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks. This is a message from my Chief Marketing Officer.